I said I'd do it, and here we are. We are rating all of the Dark Souls games, but we are back, and we are here to rate all the games. We have completed all the Infinity Stones, Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, Bloodborne, Sekiro, Elden Ring. All of them. 2 of them we didn't beat on the channel, which was Dark Souls 1 and Elden Ring, but I did play them, and I did beat them. Now, let me just do some disclaimers for the channel. Let me tell you where the channel's gonna be going real quick. So, I tried to play Monster Hunter, and I tried to play Resident Evil 4, and my PC sucks. Sadly, it's running out. It's running out of time. So I need to upgrade it to be able to play these games and actually look good. The thing is, I can play these games, but I can't like record them and make them look good for you guys. So I'm going to wait until I get this new PC, which will be about in like a month or so, and then we're going to beat those games when I get the PC. See what I'm saying right now? But in the meantime, that's what I was trying to figure out, because like, what am I gonna do in the meantime if I already had games planned out? And I think in the meantime, I'm just gonna be playing a bunch of random games. You might catch me on a horror game. You might catch me on another game. I mean, it might not be what I've been advertising for some time now, but if I physically can't play the game, there's not much I can do about it, you know what I'm saying? So we're just gonna be playing a bunch of different games. We're gonna be trying to have fun with a bunch of different games that I find interesting, and hopefully that you guys enjoy watching, and it'll be a good time. Without further ado, let's get into it. So first on the list, you got Demon Souls, and Demon Souls. The most recent addition to my Dark Souls completion collection. Now, you already know where I'm putting this. I don't know why it's a surprise. You're going in D! Demon Souls. Let's talk about it for a bit. The graphics were amazing, right? The graphics were great. The graphics looked unreal almost. But that's all they had going for them. They had Dark Souls 1 and 2 level combat, and I get it. It was just a port. It wasn't anything crazy. It wasn't a remake. It was just like let's take this game for what it was, scale up the graphics, and let's put it in this game, which is understandable. But still, I'm not gonna let it slide just because they did that. While it was just a port, and it wasn't supposed to be any better than it originally was, I can't let it slide. First of all, enemy placements. They placed a bunch of enemies to crowd you and just kill you. The enemies themselves were annoying to fight. The dogs, the enemies that can literally just one-shot you. The feature where you lose your health bar when you die, also hollowing. Criminal. There's just so much stuff in that game. And then on top of that, the bosses had good OSTs, right? You had the Penetrator OST. You had Storm King OST. You had the final boss OST was alright, but the final boss was pretty average. But the OSTs were good in the game. The story was also, I enjoyed the cutscenes. I enjoyed the story they were trying to tell, but those cutscenes that were so fantastic didn't really live up to what the NPCs were doing. Like, I didn't even know I was fighting the final boss when I went to go fight the final boss. How is that even legal? It gave me some Dark Souls 2 final boss vibes. Like, I wasn't even knowing that it's the final boss. They're just all like, old King Alant, here's a cutscene. Wow, on God. Like, what do you want from me? I'll go through my favorite bosses and my least favorite bosses of everyone in these games. My least favorite boss in Demon Souls was in fact probably Leechmonger. The boss, no, it's a tie between Leechmonger and the Adjudicator. Those 2 bosses were really just bad. They were just bad. I don't know what to tell you. Best bosses though, it's a tie between Storm Ruler and Penetrator. I get that Storm Ruler, no, I keep saying Storm Ruler. I get that Storm King was a gimmick boss, so obviously it's supposed to be like cooler than the rest. So maybe I'll put them in their own categories. They were both really good bosses in my opinion. Definitely the best bosses in the game. Because the graphics, I looked up what Storm Ruler, I looked up what Storm King looked like in the original. Bro, they did that so much justice. They did that boss so much justice. It was like the rain, the atmosphere, the soundtrack. Woo! Man. And then Penetrator, that was just a standard little night fight. Honestly, I might have to give it to Storm King. Yeah, final boss was average. Overall, the game, it just was not good in my opinion. On to the next game though. Dark Souls 1. Now, I beat Dark Souls 1 one time. I kind of just beat it because I had to. I bought it. I didn't really necessarily enjoy the game. I was kind of just playing it because like it's another game in the Dark Souls series. This is way far back. And I was just all like, I mean, I gotta beat it. I didn't really enjoy the game. The combat was average, but that's like, you know, you'd expect that from Dark Souls 1, right? So I can't really hate on it too much. For what it was when it came out, it was really good. And I think they did a pretty good job with it. I also did like how they made it so you could do a whole bunch of shortcuts to get back to the main area. And it was all like, okay, now I found a new shortcut. Now I don't have to run all the way around the whole map to get there, you know? And they didn't like crowd you with enemies that often. It was pretty good. It was a pretty good level design through and through. Except for that one like Hydra in the water, dude. I fought that boss for so long. I was like, why? Why are you like this? You had to wait for it to strike in a certain spot, and then you had to like hit it at the, I don't know. That boss is just annoying. It wasn't even a boss. It was just a person. But yeah, I don't really have much to say about Dark Souls 1, if I'm gonna be honest with you. It was kind of just a game that I played. I have no words for it. So I'm gonna put it in C tier. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. It wasn't anything. It's above Demon Souls though, that's for sure. Oh wait, I need to rate the bosses. Worst boss, obviously Bed of Chaos. That boss is terrible. That boss is awful, actually. That might be the worst boss in Souls history. The fact that janky parkour. If it was Elden Ring parkour, maybe it would make sense. But it's not. It's janky parkour. Janky Dark Souls parkour. Also, the Bed of Chaos literally pushes you, tries their hardest to push you into these holes. So you gotta do parkour with trash parkour mechanics and dodge the giant tree man trying to push you into the holes. And 9 times out of 10, he's pushing you into that hole. You gotta go back and then get the other side. Thankfully, it saved your progress, but still, the boss is awful. But yeah, gotta give it some props. They had Andre the Blacksmith, you know, carried on to Dark Souls 3. Didn't know what happened in Dark Souls 2. Carried on Andre the Blacksmith. They had some pretty decent areas. They had Anor Londor. Like, come on now. They had Ornstein and Schmo. And they had Ceratorius. Like, see, they had some pretty good bosses on their hands. But they also had Bed of Chaos. And they had that butterfly that was really obnoxious. Now, best boss, I have to give it to Artorias. I mean, I feel like that's a given. That boss is just really good. It's just a good boss fight. It's a good swordsman fight. He gets stronger after like a couple. He has like 3 phases. Base phase, a little bit stronger, a little bit stronger. Pretty decent all around. You know, made me try a little bit hard. Rage quit a couple times, but I finished it in one setting. I just had to go like get up, get some water. Finish it in one sitting. It was a very good boss fight though. I enjoyed that boss fight. Felt fulfilled when I beat him. I forgot what weapon I used too, but it's probably fire. So, next game, Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls 2. Wait, I need to keep talking about the final bosses too. Back to Demon Souls final boss is garbage. He spammed a whole bunch, no build up to the boss fight, very lame. Area, didn't even know it was the final boss. Didn't like Sir Long. Dark Souls 1 final boss fight. I enjoyed it. Gwyn, I didn't parry him. I didn't know you could parry a final boss, you know? So I didn't parry him. So it was kind of just like a real boss fight, and I was like kind of getting stomped out by him. It was a good boss fight. I enjoyed the soundtrack. It was very sad while he was just stomping you out. And I like the lore that carries on to Dark Souls 3. The lore. So that was a good boss fight, final boss fight. Dark Souls 2, you're going right above Demon Souls. Because Demon Souls? No, I can't get behind Demon Souls. You're going right above Demon Souls, but it's a close race. Dark Souls 2. Let me talk about that for a second. Oh, my foot. That game was so average. Now, I'm not going to be a hater and say that game is just complete trash. Right? I'm not going to be a hater and say the game was complete trash because it had its strong points, you know? I can't name those strong points, but it had them. Like, I'm trying to think of the good parts of Dark Souls 2. What was good about Dark Souls 2? I mean, Sir Alone was good. Fume Knight was good. The areas were cool, or they were all right. Drangelic Castle maybe was the coolest spot. I can't really. The only thing that Dark Souls 2 had going for it was maybe, not even maybe. It was Majula, man. But a hub world cannot carry a whole game. But Majula is the best hub world ever. The soundtrack, just the scenery, bro. Everything. Just Majula. You think about Majula, you're just all like, whoa, this is majestic. Look out into the sunset. You finish a Dark Souls 2 episode. Every time I just went to Majula, looked at the sunset, I just sat there. I was just like, I can record another one. I can do another one. I just, like, it. Majula carried me through that game. Like, after every episode, like, I was getting checked, I was just like, Majula can save me. But yeah, the bosses were just pretty average. All of them were just like very stagnant, boring. I mean, I'm glad that the bosses like slow pace kept up with your slow pace, but still, it was so slow. I could see everything happening. Like, I was like the Flash playing that game. I was literally the Flash. And the fact is, my reaction time was the Flash, but my character could not move that fast. Like, I saw this attack coming at me. I tried to press B. My character just would not roll. I'm just like, okay, I'm getting smacked upside the head. No. Like, it was just so average, bro. The game was just average. Yeah, no. I can't get behind that game. I was playing that game and I was just like, wow, can I even beat this? Can I really beat this? Like, I don't know. They also had the hollowing feature that was just like, bro, this ain't it, Chief. But final boss in Dark Souls 2, also major disappointment. I didn't even know that she was the final boss. But the final boss was just so like light. I couldn't get behind it. As for worst bosses of Dark Souls 2, we have a couple on my mind. The spider boss, did not enjoy that at all. That's just a personal thing though. I wouldn't count that as a bad boss. Dragon Rider and Double Dragon Rider, those bosses were so lazy. Laziest boss I've ever seen in my life. Easiest combat ever. They're all pretty average, but those are the worst ones in my opinion. Now, best bosses, Sir Alone, Old Dragon Slayer. And personally, I like Darklooker a lot. I don't know why. Darklooker was kind of fire. Those are my top 3. I can't really choose between them. They were all pretty good. I enjoyed those. Those bosses made the game a little worthwhile. All right, on to Dark Souls 3. Solid A tier, in my opinion. Now, we're just going to skip over B, because I don't believe any of these are B tier. But Dark Souls 1 is definitely C, and these two are definitely D. Actually, we might, no. This could be varied. Dark Souls 1 could be C or B. Let's be honest here. For its time, it could be C or B. Like, we're comparing it to like Elden Ring. Obviously, it's not going to be Elden Ring. Obviously. So we have Dark Souls 3, and a lot of people have a lot of mixed opinions about this game. The starting area, the starting of the game, is pretty slow. Up until you get to the Boreal Valley, if you're the Boreal Valley, you can't, it's pretty boring. I won't lie, it's pretty boring. And I love Dark Souls 3, but like the start is just criminal. And I can't really let that slide because the initial start to a game is what makes a game. Like, how are you gonna get interested in a game if the first part is trash? That means every time you play it, you gotta get past this trash part just to get to the good part. And it's just like, I don't know. But past the Boreal Valley, I love that game. If you're the Boreal Valley, I love that game. Because you have Pontiff Sullivan. All right, let me just name off some bangers for boss fights, so y'all can get a good roster for bosses. Because Dark Souls 3 bosses, they were not lacking in the slightest. They were not lacking in the slightest. So you first off, you have Vort of the Boreal Valley, easy boss, good boss though. You had Abyssal Watchers. You had Pontiff Sullivan. You had Dancer of the Boreal Valley. You had Dragon Slayer Armor, Champion Gundyr, Lothric Princess, my favorite boss. Nameless King, Soul of Cinder, and then don't even get me started on the DLC bosses. Like, those bosses were stacked. OSTs just goated. Man, OSTs all goated. Like, you know how many times I've seen the Vort of the Boreal Valley or Vort boss soundtrack just used in like everyday thing? Like, it's such an iconic soundtrack, dude. Like, bosses, they just kill it. They kill it in bosses. Areas, they're also really good too. Enemies, amazing. Except for those centipede things, those sewer rats. Hate those bosses, or those guys. But I just love the areas. I love the bosses. I love a lot about that game. I love the combat, you know? I love the sword. It's like, I don't know. That place has a special place in my heart. Now, getting on to the worst bosses of that game, obviously. Worst boss, Ancient Wyvern. That boss is so sorry. That boss is so average. Why make an awesome dragon just for it to get one shot? It's a lame gimmick fight. And I barely could even figure it out when I first played it because I was like, why am I doing no damage? But you just have to one-shot it. That's so lame. That's so lame. Now, best boss. Personally, my favorite fight, the best fight in my opinion, is the Lanthric Princess. I love the feature. I love the teleporting feature. The soundtrack mostly. The OST is amazing for that boss. I don't know why I like that boss so much. This is the soundtrack and the teleporting feature and just the look of the boss. Every time I think about it, I just remember the first time I played it, I was just like, wow, this soundtrack is getting me hyped. Like I'm dancing while I'm fighting. I'm literally up dancing. Objectively speaking, the best boss is Slave Not Gale, Sister Freed, Nameless King, and we'll do five. No, that's that's so bad. Okay, we'll narrow it down to the top two. Objectively speaking, the top two best bosses are Slave Knight Gale. I have to give it to him. And
approximately 10 hours later.
Pontiff 2? Oh my goodness. Okay. Slave Knight Gale, and for lore purposes, difficulty purposes, and all around, I have to give it to the Nameless King. I have to. I can't not give it to the Nameless King. Like, come on. That's Gwyn's son from Dark Souls 1. And the final boss is literally Gwyn, the soul of Gwyn. Like, you just can't overlook that. You just can't. You can't. No, I gotta give it to Nameless King. Slave Knight Gale, Nameless King. That was so difficult. Oh my goodness. My head, my heart. Okay. Enough with Dark Souls 3. I love that game so much. Enough with Dark Souls 3. Bloodborne, obvious S. Come on now. It's Bloodborne. What are we talking about right now? If you think Bloodborne is anything but an S, you are just faded on different levels. You're tripping. It's like Bloodborne. What can I not say about Bloodborne? I'm about to glaze this game.
What did he say?
Pause, but like Bloodborne is so good. All the bosses in Bloodborne were just goated. Like, let's look at these. You got Cleric Beast, Vicar Amelia, Father G, Bloodstarved Beast. Okay, the Witch of Hemwick was trash. Dark Beast Parl, Shadow of Yharnam, Rom, Martyr Ligorius, Amygdala. Like, come on, man. Marco's Wet Nurse, Gurman. We're not even talking about DLC bosses yet. Is that crazy? I just named literally all their bosses and we're not even talking about DLC yet. We got Lawrence, Ludwig, Maria, Orphan of Cause. Come on now. Don't sleep. Bosses S tier. Bosses in that game are just completely S tier. The bosses are that good, but also the soundtracks for these bosses they were just fantastic. Each of them, each soundtrack matched the boss perfectly. You're fighting Ludwig, you hear na, 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 na. Like, come on now. You're fighting Ludwig Holy Blade himself. He's holding the Holy Blade in his hand. You got Ludwig Holy Blade. You got Lady Maria's fight. That fight is just a goated humanoid fight. The best one. She goes into her blood form. Her attacks start getting fired. Like, you're getting hyped. Soundtrack's ramping up and everything. She's stabbing herself. Blood's coming out everywhere. Like, come on, man. You're getting hyped. I'm getting hyped even thinking about it. All right. Like, come on, bro. You got Central Yharnam, Cathedral Ward, Old Yharnam, the church. You got the Hunter's Dream. The Hunter's Dream was a fantastic hub. You had, what's it called? The Hunter's Nightmare for the DLC. You had the chalices. You want to go challenge yourself? Bars. And just the weapons, too. I know I only used Ludwig's Holy Blade, but still, like, all the weapons were so good in that game. They're all so unique. The uniqueness of the weapons. The fact that you can change the Ludwig's Holy Blade from a big sword to a straight sword. That game is wild. And the counter system. Every other game's being all basic. They're all like, parry. No, Bloodborne just right in your face. Somebody's trying to swing on you, just pull out a gun, just shoot him in the head. Like, what? Now, worst boss in Bloodborne. Let's see what we got here. Probably have to give it to just like Witch of Hemwick. Best boss though. Tie between Ludwig, Gurman, and Lady Maria. Now let me give you my reasoning for each one of these. Gurman, final boss. Soundtrack was just absolutely goated. It was just like the first hunter versus the most recent hunter. And apparently he wasn't crippled the whole game. And he just gets up and he's just all like, it's time to save you. I'm like, whoa now, Gurman. I gotta catch these hands. And the soundtrack while fighting this boss was just absolutely peak. Like, I don't know. And he's literally a hunter too. So he's also pairing with a gun. And it's just like, it was just such a good final fight. absolute hypeness, Ludwig's Holy Blade. Let's be honest. Like, Ludwig's Holy Blade. Bro, you defeat Ludwig the, like, accursed or something, the first form. And then bro's all like, you were there the whole time. And he's like, I will fight you now, Ludwig the Holy. Like, come on, man. Come on. The boss fight is crazy. He gets a giant green sword. He starts standing up literally on 2 legs. And he's just, he starts getting up literally on 2 legs and just starts squaring up with you with a little sword. Like, come on, like, he's about it. Like, he's ready. And then he starts swinging like giant beams of light at you. He's going crazy on you. You're just all like, what is happening? What is going on? Now I'm considering Lady Maria because her fight was just so like, it was, I enjoyed how simplistic it was, but I also enjoyed how difficult she was to fight. You know, she was just a human. She was just a regular human, just a regular hunter. But she fought hard, man. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it was just a real person behind there. She was fighting hard. And I think her soundtrack was amazing. And I was kind of sad when the fight ended because I was like, that was a really good fight. That was just a really like balanced, but like a little bit overpowering fight. And it was like, which is obvious because she's a boss, but I was like, I don't want this to end. I was really enjoying that fight. But yeah, that's enough. That's enough Bloodborne. Now Sekiro. Obviously an S, but if I could place it right beside it, I would. Now, I'm gonna place it behind. But by any means that does not mean by any means that this game is bad. At all. Not even in the slightest. Like, I wouldn't even consider this game to be bad. It's actually like a close second. Like, I'm placing it behind, but like Sekiro is like really close. It raised the bar to fighting in every single game for me. Like, you can play Sekiro and get the fighting down, and you can literally play any other game, and that combat will not even come close to Sekiro. Maybe Sifu, but still, it's not as satisfying. It's not satisfying at all. Like, just parrying someone's attack and then like doing a little finishing blow on them, that's just unmatched. That's unmatched. Or somebody dashing at you with a sword and then you Mikiri counter that John. Just literally step on his sword, or they do a sweeping attack, you jump over, step on his head, then do a little slashing attack in the air. That's insane. Fighting style, the atmosphere, the shinobi, like you climb on walls, you have like prosthetic tools to fight with. Like you can throw a shuriken and then do a strike after that. If you want to go in guns a-blazing, you can, but if you want to sneak around and let's say take a boss's health bar, you can do that too. It gives you so much freedom in what you want to do. And all the boss fights, and especially the story actually meant something. It actually meant something. And there were like different endings to the story too. It was just fantastic. My least favorite boss and the worst boss in my opinion is Yobu. I don't know, that boss was just really, it wasn't doing it for me. I was just all like, okay, on a horse, that just makes it so like unfun. You gotta chase after him and stuff. I don't know, I just wasn't enjoying it at all. And then best boss. Okay, after further favorite boss, best boss, favorite boss in my opinion, it's probably Inner Owl. The one you fought, no, not Inner Owl. The owl you fought underground, under the burning building, where you fought Lady Butterfly. I thought that boss was amazing. I don't know. I really enjoyed that fight. I thought it was very, I think it punished me for a lot of things that I do in boss fights that I shouldn't be doing. Like fully charged up heavy attack. I can't tell you the amount of times I did a fully charged up heavy attack and just got bodied by him. He caught it with his foot and said, "Ugh," right through my chest. Now, after further conclusion, I'm putting Bloodborne above Sekiro. Nah, can't let that slide. Now, on to the final below. No, okay. I'll have to put Elden Ring above Bloodborne. Come on, dog. Elden Ring. Where do I even begin with Elden Ring? I think this game was fantastic. I think this game won Game of the Year for a reason. It changed everything for the Dark Souls. For everything. Like an open world Dark Souls game with an amazing story, amazing combat, amazing customization, enemies all over the wazoo, new things to explore every single time you play. You can put hundreds of hours in this game and not get bored of it because there's just so much you can do. There's so much you can do. They just threw so much in your face. They just threw like literally a 25-ton ball at your face and said, go have fun with this. Wow. Let me try to explain the first time I hopped on Elden Ring. Literally got on Elden Ring, thought it was gonna be the basic game. I was all like, okay, it's Elden Ring, you know, new Souls game. I am the Souls master, so I might as well just play the game. I hop on Elden Ring, right? You go up that little thing, and then you see all this stuff. And when I first look at it, I'm like, okay, this is some pretty cool scenery. You know, you got some mountains over there, you got Lucaria Castle over there, you got the giant Erd tree over there, you know, it's pretty cool. But little did I know, you would be able to explore all of this. You could go there. You could literally go there. That thing you saw in the first place, those mountains you saw, you could go there and go find some enemies and go find some new weapon to use. You could go there and do whatever you wanted. You had a horse, which made it so much better. There are enemies waiting for you. There are wolves. There are spear people. There are slime people, rats, like dragons lurking. There are... I'm getting ahead of myself. There's anything you can think of in that game. Spider hands, literal spider hands. It was crazy. Dude riding on a horse with a magical bow and arrow that he's trying to fight you with. There's literally like giant gargoyles that poison you. There's a scarlet rot lake in every single Souls game. But dude, there's just anything, like anything and everything. And the game is just so vast that if you're not cheesing and you're just like going through it, just like playing the game and everything, there's so much stuff you can find. Like I play it again sometimes and I still find new stuff. I literally got an achievement recently for a boss that I didn't even know existed before. Like I thought I beat the whole game. Bosses I didn't even know existed are just popping up out of nowhere because of a new cave. Like there's still more? It is just insane. And it all starts off with that goated, absolutely goated main menu theme. Absolutely crazy main menu theme. You hear the main menu theme and it just gets you like, whoa. If I didn't put it at the very top, I would be lying to myself. First time I played that game, it was just fantastic. The bosses, dude, the bosses, they were difficult, but it was worth. Beating them was worth every single second. I think Malekith was amazing. Malekith was a fantastic boss. The transition and then the way he looks, like, oh, a lion with a sword? But yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for watching. I finally complete all the Souls games. It's crazy. I beat all of them. I don't really know what to think right now. It was kind of bittersweet because I ended it with Demon Souls, but it was still amazing. So thank you guys for being here for the journey. I'll see you guys in these next couple of weeks playing a bunch of different games. But yeah, we'll get to Monster Hunter and Resident Evil soon. But alrighty, y'all. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.